and explore some of the capabilities that define the application, and then we'll deploy it up to SmartForm Manager, and then we'll make it active onto a portal. We'll go look at it over in one of our portals, and then we can explore it on a mobile device as well, right? And we can talk about some of the back-end integration pieces. But mostly we'll be talking about the actual creation of it, and then the deployment and the management of it in SmartForm Manager. Okay. So what I thought we would do, and again, I'm going to just kind of build this. This is just building on the fly as we go. But if we take a look at an application, so in this case we've got an insurance app. It's kind of ugly, all paper-based, and this is what a lot of times you start with, right? And many times what organizations will try and do is just try and replicate it exactly, and that's really not the right way to do it. I mean, you want to actually put some intelligence and put best practices for data collection into the application, and so that's kind of what we're going to explore today, right? So that's kind of going to be the basis of it. Is going to be an insurance application that we're going to deploy to our website. So with that, let's jump into building. So we're going to go into SmartForm Composer, and again, that's where I said we would start and take a look at building the application. It's a web-based tool. When I go into it, I've got different projects that I can belong to, different forms, and so it's basically role-based. So each developer has access to different things. And so you can see here I'm into one called Jeff, and I'm going to actually create a new form or a new data collection application in this case. Now, one of the great things about Composer as it's going through this is it's going to kind of build the base application for me. It's going to ask me some questions about what I want to do with it. So one is going to be my, actually, we'll just call this webinar demo. And we'll say this is our insurance application. I move through, so again, wizard driven. It's going to ask us some questions and build the base application for us. Now, one of the things you'll notice here is it's asking us what template we want to use, and there could be different templates. So for the organization itself that we set this up, so when you actually install or deploy SmartForm Factory in your organization, you're typically going to define some things into a template or multiple templates that what are your logos, what font styles you use, different things like that are going to be baked into the template, right? And they're not necessarily things that I as a form builder need to know about. They're really more things that as an organization, what's our look and feel. And so some of that's baked into the template. So in this case, I'm just using an out-of-box template because we don't really have a defined color scheme for our make-believe company here. Now it's coming in and it's going to ask me some things that I, as a form builder or as a data collection application builder, needs to be able to decide on what I'm building here. What's the structure going to be? What's some styling and color themes that I want to apply? Now again, these can all be customized for the organization because there may be certain color schemes you don't want to use. So in this case, I'm going to say I want to use like a wizard left. This is that TurboTax type of interface where I've got a menu on the left-hand side of my application. And I can say, well, the section styling is the same, but you can see different ones that are in here, rounded corners, pullouts, which is going to put a gutter. And then I could choose different color schemes, right? So we'll say, well, we'll use blue. Hit next. Now to ask some additional information. We're just going to take all the defaults here, hit finish, and now what's going to happen is SmartForm Composer is actually going to create our application for us and drop us into the development environment. And so the shell of the application, if you will, has already been put in place. The navigation is kind of working, error handling is there. A lot of the heavy lifting that I would have to do to build this application has already been done for me, right? It's in there. And if we look at this tool here, the way to look at it, the structure here on the left, this is a hierarchy of everything that's in the form as it stands right now. In the middle is really a rendition or a wireframe of what the form is going to kind of look like. And then over here on the side is my my palette and the different features and function sets that I can drag onto the form for use, right? So that's kind of how it's broken out. And over here in the palette, you'll find a lot of very useful assistants as well, right? And what we mean by that is just wizard-based development tools that are really, meant to abstract a lot of the complexities away for the development exercise, right? And this also allows the business owners to really be closer to development and sometimes even develop the forms if you want. So here I'm going to actually use a section assistant. I'm going to drag that onto my form. Now you can see I can drag over into the structure or onto the form itself. And so on this particular wizard or assistant, what it's doing is saying, well, what are the sections that I'm going to have into the form? And so we can say, well, I know I'm going to have applicant, and we're also going to have one for occupants, and we'll ask about the residents. They might have extra coverage that they want to add to the policy, so we'll add that. And then we'll ask some questions around discounts, and then we're going to look for their signature. And we can close that out, hit finish. And what we'll notice here is it basically builds that menu structure and the different sections for us to drop in there, right? You can see it also put in instructions by default. This is where you would go in and actually define what what the first screen is that they're going to see when they open up the application. In this case, I'm just going to delete that out, and we'll go straight to building, and collecting the information that we want. So I've got these different pieces set out. Again, you saw how I could drag some things directly from here, but there's also the concept of data dictionary. So this is if the organization defines a set of data that is going to be used across all different data collection applications, and it's, here's the the naming conventions, where it goes on the back end, what the collection input is, they can define numerous data dictionaries inside of here. And so in this case, I've got a data dictionary. I just got a couple items in there, but if I wanted to grab first name and put that into my form, I could say create a new field and save, and then I could say drop last name on there as well, create a new field. We'll keep it on the same line, save. And so you can see I can build from a data dictionary as well. And this is going to keep the naming conventions concise and throughout all data collection applications. This is going to be critical for data analysis on the back end, right? Understanding where I have these common data elements across and how do I use them. So this is a very good tool, something that you would employ into the building as well. But if you don't have that and you're just building forms as you go, you could come in and pull straight from a straight from the palette as well, right? And so you can see as I type in different things, it'll pull, it'll find, based on the name that I'm typing in, components that are out there. So here I can see I've got an email field, and I can basically drag that into the deal. We'll label it email address. We'll make this one a large field, save it, and you can see it's kind of building out. Let's say I'm going to add phone number. You notice I dragged either to the structure or to the form. I can actually even just double click and say, put it out there, and it knows where I'm at and where I'm building it, and so it'll basically just fold it into the next piece out there. And so if I said, hey, let's grab cell phone as well, we're going to keep it on the same line. Again, I don't have to drag. It takes care of the spacings for me, puts everything in place, and again, it shows the font based on what was in our template. Now I can click on any one of these items and go to it and actually see, if I want to change aspects about the font or caption, coloring, and different things like that. I've got access to it, but typically that's going to be driven by your template, and you're just going to be able to just build in the way that I'm building where I'm just dragging the different pieces on and labeling them and getting it set either from the data dictionary or from my palette. So another thing I can do is different levels of sectioning. So I'm going to come in here and grab a section level 2. We're going to say this is going to be for address. And basically it's creating a subsection, if you will. And then for address, what I'm going to do, if you'll notice, I search over here. I've got these little red and green block areas here. These are custom business blocks that you can build, right? So these are actually built by the organization. So as you build something in a form, even this, like if I wanted to grab this first, last name, email address, phone, and cell, if I wanted to grab that as something that I reuse all the time, I could save that as a custom block, and then any builder could then grab and use that in there. And so I'm going to do that here for the address as well. So I'm going to drag into the address, give it a name, and you can see there's my address field that's in there. Now, just a quick note on this. If I highlight over this guy and right click, I can see I can actually choose an option of embed custom type field. And what that basically is saying is break the inheritance that I'm getting from this custom block. So maybe this address is pretty much exactly what I want to use in my building process, but I don't want to, if someone changes the actual address block, I don't want to inherit their changes anymore, and I may even in fact add things to this address block specifically for my form, right? And so that allows me to do it. Another thing that I can do when we talk about these reusable blocks, I can actually come over and do an impact analysis. So if I click on the block itself, I can see this address block is actually used on all of these different forms, right? And so if I actually do go in at the organizational level and change the block, I can know, hey, here's all the forms that I'm going to affect by adding things to this particular block, right? So the tooling is there for you to basically build that reusable content library and enable your form builders to take full advantage of that type of information. So we've kind of got our form taking some shape here. You know, I can hit save if I want. Now, one of the great things about the tool set as well is it's going to allow you to be very agile in your development methods, right? And so now I can actually go with the business group that I'm working with and say, hey, you know, I want you to kind of look at what we're at. Let's make sure we're on the same page. And so in this case, we know we're going to be delivering to a web portal, and so we're going to be targeting HTML desktop. So I can hit that and render it, and that's basically going to show me what I've built so far, right? And it's going to give me what this form is looking like. And so just in what I've done so far, you can see that the form is laid out nicely, and my navigation is there already, so I can navigate via the menu on the top, or I can, you know, so I can click on any one of these. Obviously, we haven't added anything to the lower sections, and I've got navigation down on the bottom. So as I'm sitting there with the business user, you know, they may come in and say, well, I don't know, you know, maybe this isn't quite the color scheme that we're looking for. You know, it's you know, really more of a softer blue. We can change to different color schemes that are available to us. We can also define additional color schemes as we go through. And maybe they even say, you know what, that wizard style, that TurboTax, maybe it'd be better if we just did it like a standard regular form. We're just not sure we want to do that. Real quickly, we could basically apply those changes and re-render that form out and give them a feel for what it's going to look like, right, and how it would interact. And again, we haven't deployed it out onto the site yet or anything, but we're able to see exactly what it's going to look like. They can see the hide, show, you know, collapsible sections. And so now the business user go, okay, that's the color scheme we're looking for, and you know, now that I've actually looked at it, that navigation on the left is actually kind of nice, so let's go back to that, right? Maybe that is what we want to do. So you can make these changes in these, you know, to the structure as well as to the color theme as you go. You're not, you know, it could be months later, weeks later, whatever the process going to be, you can make those kind of changes. Okay, so we've got our first section kind of built. So let's go in and look at let's build a couple other sections here. I'm not going to bore you too much. So I've created a couple of custom blocks to you know, kind of the a la baking show to move things along. So I've got a section that's already built out there for me called Occupants. So maybe this was already in a different form and someone saved it out there. I can drag that in. and reuse all that kind of information. So I pulled that into the form, so I had that kind of ready for us. So now we'll kind of move down into the residence. Now I didn't want to do everything that way because I wanted to give you a better sense of how you build these things and deploy them, as well as give you an idea of what it can take to add a lot of intelligence that's sometimes very hard to do inside of a form, right? So maybe we've got date fields that we want to grab. So for our residents, we want to know, year built. So I could just use a calendar widget there if I want. We'll grab an integer field, and maybe we want to know square feet. So again, very easy to build. We'll say we'll keep that on the same line. Drop that in. So again, very easy to go in and build, the base data collection pieces. Now, one of the other things that I'll show real quick is maybe we've got maybe we want to grab some radio button type functionality into it. So let's grab this in, and we want to know, maybe we want to know what the construction type is. So we can say, what's the construction type? And again, we'll use an assistant here to help us build this, and we'll say it's a frame, and here in Florida we use a lot of masonry. Not sure if that's spelled right. Could be a log home, maybe brick home. So you get the idea here. So we'll save and close that. Now, one of the things you'll notice is it's basically letting me say, how do I want to show these? So in this case, it's going to flow them top to bottom, but I could do them left to right. I could also say, well, I know I've only got 4, so let me grab a grid here, and yeah, we'll just do 2. We'll do 2 by 2 here, so it'll kind of stack them on top of each other. I can hit finish, and it'll basically lay that out for me, right? And so there's my construction type. So now if we go out and preview the form again and go back to our business, we can again share where we're at, how things are moving along with the application. We can show them, here's the occupancy area that we grabbed in, and there's the section that we just built, and we can see our radio button working just fine. So again, very easy to build this type of functionality there. So now if we go down to the extra coverage, one of the things that you see inside of a data collection application all the time that can be kind of difficult to do is basically tables or repeating sections, right? And that typically people look at that as, well, that's going to be hard to do, or that's going to require coding. And with our sections, it's actually very easy to do, and in fact we even have an assistant that makes it very, very simple to do. So again, we'll grab an assistant here, and let's come in and we'll say this is our extra coverage. Is what we want to do, and then you basically define what you're going to put inside of the repeating table, right? So we want to basically say, well, it's going to be a text field, and again, there's all my different field types that are there for me, and we want to know for this label, what is the item description that you're asking for more coverage, and we'll say this is going to be 65% of the deal. We'll say save and next, and then we're going to grab a currency field and say, the next field is value, and this one's actually going to be 25%. You can save and close, and we want to basically just add this include, add, and delete button, and that basically handles all the programming for me. So now when I hit finish, it's basically going to construct that table for me and basically give me the dynamic pieces that I was looking for. So again, if we preview that, take a look at what we've got. We'll be able to go over here to the extra coverage and see that I can basically add rows and delete rows. There's definitely some color shadings and some other things that I might do to make it look better, but the base aspects that I'm looking to do are there for me, right? So very, very quick and easy to do. So we've kind of built a actually very complex application, pretty quickly. Now, one of the other great things about it, do you have something you want to add there, Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to reinforce that, I mean, you've been at it for 15 minutes and you've created a multi-page application with dynamic hide show and some business logic and other things, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and one of the other things that's very impressive about it, let's say you wanted to deliver this as a PDF, right? I can basically, that one design is producing not only the HTML for my desktop, but it's also allowing my PDF version here. So scale that back a little bit. So there is our exact application with the functionality that we're expecting to see working inside of a PDF here, right? And so this is actually, you know, dynamic capability right inside the PDF container. All the things that we're used to about PDF apply. So again, one form design gives me that HTML for desktop as well as PDF, and then also is going to give me my HTML for tablet. So it's going to, as SmartForm Manager, as we actually deploy this, and we'll look at this in just a second, if you deploy it to a mobile device, it's going to basically target that look and feel for that mobile device. This gives me an idea of what it's going to kind of look like. But again, one design is driving all of this functionality, and is going to work, you know, for me, right?
Right, so that single design creates a desktop mouse-based interface, or what you just had up there was a touch-based tablet interface.
Correct, yep. Actually, I'm going to...
And at some point, Jeff, we've got a couple of questions in the box also as you're going through this about complex data validation performed, you know, so at some point in your demo, and I'm sure you're going to do this, you know, we'll look at some business rules and adding, you know, various kinds of validations.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, let's do that. And I actually need to step up the pace here because we're falling behind. That's the problem when you're just building ad hoc. So what I'm going to do real quick, let's publish this out, right? So let me save the form, publish it out, go look at it, and then we'll come back and add some of that additional pieces. So in this case, we can choose where we're going to publish to. So I'm going to publish this out to our demo site. I'm going to push just the HTML version because I'm not needing the PDF. Hit finish. This is going to launch us over to SmartForm Manager, right? And so this is actually popping in a different block here, a different window. And I'll log in.
So just to keep everybody in the flow of the demo, what Jeff just did is he from SmartForm Composer, he said he wanted to deploy this, and now he's in SmartForm Manager, and he's going to configure it into deployment.
Correct. And so I'm defining what organization that I'm going to be. It gave me the name based on what I described the form as I built it, but I could change it here. We'll just keep it webinar and demo. I'll change it to, I'll add insurance on there. But you can see I've got an organization. So this is multi-group, multi-tenant. You can have multiple portals that you belong to. I'm going to go ahead and import that in, right? And that's basically going to do all the importation of the form, get it ready for us to where we can actually use it. And now typically what you're going to do in this point is go to form promotion, you know, let my testers know this is ready for test and get it all ready. And there's testing built in. Testers get notified, all that kind of stuff. We're just doing a demo, so I'm going to bypass all that. And I'm going to go take it right out of test mode, right into production mode. And I'm actually even going to say that the delivery mechanism should be a lifecycle review and approval process. So I've already got an approval process out there. I'm just going to reuse one that's already there. Hit save. And now that's in place, right? So if we went out to our finance portal and logged in, and again, we covered this in previous demos, but our previous webinars, but you know, this is our self-service portal that comes with the application, but basically makes it very simple for users to find the forms, have a task and assignment, and track the history for self-service. We can come in under forms, see our list of forms, scroll down, there's our webinar demo. So we're going to open that guy up. I didn't turn landing page off, so the landing page took straight from my definition that I put in place, but we'll go ahead and open that guy up. And now what we're going to see is that form rendered inside of the portal that we're using, you know, exactly what we've put in place, right? And so it's all working, ready to go. You know, all the dynamic aspects, you know, are there. All the data collection, you is there. So very easy to deploy this out as well. So what I want to do now is let's go back over to Composer. So now we've closed that loop as far as the development goes. We've actually created a form, the data collections being there, and now we want to go in and actually add some validations and some let's say signature and submission. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to grab a submission block so we can submit the form and fire our validation rules. So I'm going to put that in place. And let's go in and actually say, maybe we want to have, the address line is going to be always mandatory. So we'll set that. Might not be able to see here, but it's adding a little red asterisk to it. So it's given some pieces like that. You may also go in and say, maybe I want to put some dynamic pieces in here. So let's grab we'll put a field inside of residence. We'll say describe. And under the description here, I'll just click on that, and I'm going to change a rule. So you'll notice I've got visibility rules, editability rules, calculation rules, validations. All those kind of things are there and ready for us to use. So in this case, I'm going to use a visibility rule, and we're going to say it's rule-based. Click on it. And again, it's point and click for me. And I can basically say, well, if they say, construction type is actually, we'll say if the square feet is greater than 3,000 square feet, then please describe the home a little bit more. I don't know if that makes sense, but you kind of get the sense of it. And so now that field's going to be dynamic for us right there. Now if I've got validations that I want to use on let's say year built, if I come in under validation rules, you'll see I've got regular expression patterns that I can use, set a fixed length or do validation scripts that are there. So we understand that there's going to be things that you're going to want to do in a form that you can't do with just point and click. We understand sometimes you're going to have that kind of need, although you can see I've done quite a bit with just pointing and clicking. But we're always going to allow you to come in and get to a script editor, get to that full-fledged piece to be able to do true validations and scripting, so you can get to that as well. Now some of the other business rules that I might want to put in place, let's say I've got attachments that I want to add, right? So I'm going to add an attachment rule. So over here in my palette, there's also rules that I can attach. So I'm going to drag a rule into the form, and this is an attachment rule. And so let's say for this insurance piece, we also want them to give us a pay stub, right, as part of their submission. So we'll say pay stub. We'll call pay stub, and we'll say it's optional. They can put it in there if they want or not. So we've got that in place, and let's grab a signature widget. So I'm going to do this sign on the glass. Type sign. So we'll drop that in place. And so now we've made quite a few changes to the form. We've gotten quite a few rules that we put in place. I'm going to publish this out once again. So we saved it. We hit finish. And what that's going to do is actually take us again through the same process. So I'm going to choose that. Now the difference is now it recognizes that, hey, we've already got this form up here, so you're going to do a new template version, or are you going to do an update the current version? So in this case, we're just going to say just update the current version. And we'll see that is in there. And so now if we come in and hit our forms, we can go find it, click open. Again, the signature, landing page is all still the same. We didn't change any of that, although we could turn that off and on with rules or definitions over in SmartForm Manager. But now we can see address line 1 has our required field. If we come down to our signature piece, we can actually see where we could sign it and submit it. Now if I hit submit on the form, it's going to tell me, hey, you failed a validation. I can hit go to, it takes me directly to where I'm at, highlights that particular field, allows me to put that information in there. Now if I come down to there and refresh the issue list, we're all error-free. So all that heavy lifting around validations, error handling, best practices for delivering those error messages, they're all handled for me. I didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. Now if I come down to my signature now and I go ahead and say let's go ahead and submit it, SmartForm Manager not only handles the submission, so it's taking all that data and getting it ready for me, but it also said, hey, guess what? Someone put a rule in here that we need an attachment, so can you go ahead and attach our pay stub as well? Now we did make it optional and not mandatory, so it does let me bypass it now, but in this case I'll say, well, I'm going to go ahead and attach the file. I could choose it, say, well, that's it, attach it. You can define how big these can be, what formats they can be as a PDF. When I do this attachment and upload it, it's actually going to do virus scanning, so that's built in, so we're making sure we're keeping our piece clear back on our servers. And now, SmartForm Manager takes us all the way through and says, well, okay, here's your confirmation. We got it. We've pulled it into the SmartForm Manager and we're processing on the back end. But what would you like to do, right? Do you want to see a copy of your form for you? So again, from our single design that we built before, we were able to get a copy of what we did. Now remember, we did a very dynamic form from a wizard style, but here it just kind of built that same thing top down. There's all the data, there's my signature that I put on the form. So with one design we're able to push that out to not only gather information on the online and or PDF, but also getting it into a receipt type piece so I can use for documented record, right? So I didn't have to do anything, to make that happen, right? So another thing we can do real quick is, let me pull up what this looks like on a mobile device, because that's actually an important piece. So and when I do this, I'm going through this, keep in mind we talked about in the previous webinars how this could actually be as the field worker app. So this could be an offline type of capability where I'm taking the form completely offline and synchronizing, or it could be just I'm accessing this via a browser, right? And so in this case, that's what I've got here is just a browser. There's my open form. We left the landing page on. But now what we'll see is this is rendering. SmartForm Manager is going to recognize the fact that we're requesting this form on an iPad, and it's going to basically do the appropriate renderings for me. So now if I click on the state field, the control is going to be built for that as opposed for a mouse, right? And all my basic information is going to be there. I can bounce around the different different pieces. But actually, if I hit, submit, we're going to see that the validation acts differently. Now, for a touch device, the best thing for it to do is actually show a little red one up inside of the piece. I can click on it. Again, we see the same kind of thing, validation, error message on the bottom, and what that is on the top. So very easy to have these go to mobile devices as well as PDF as well as HTML desktop. And then SmartForm Manager is the piece that's going to allow it to manage the business rules and all the things that go along with it. Now, the last kind of thing I want to talk about, Rod mentioned, so when we talk about SmartForm Manager, so not only is it handling the transaction hub, if you will, of what's going on, so it's kind of like that quarterback for all my transactions. And we can see there's the webinar demo that we submitted. If I click on it, we can actually even see that it's delivery completed. It's process ID 2309. So those of you who are very familiar with Lifecycle, that's a Lifecycle process ID that's been kicked back to me because I did push it on over to life cycle. But as a transaction, I can see, what portal that they came into, who logged in, what template they were using, were there attachments, were there payments, were there errors, did I get the transmission, all the way over? And then in addition to that, I've also got the aspects around analytics about what's going on as a whole. So I can come in and see submission trend charts, average time for completion, what does my demographics look like as far as where they're coming from, or what type of browser they're using, where did they come from. All those kind of things are there to really drill in and learn more about the type of data and the health of the system that's going on. So, a lot of breadth inside of SmartForm Manager to really help and manage that aspect. So with that, I think that covers most of what I wanted to be. I know we're running short on time, so I want to leave some time for questions. But if you look at it, I mean, what we just accomplished in a matter of probably 30 minutes, we built a multi-page data collection application. We delivered, deployed that up, able to push it to a portal to allow our users to be able to search, find it, use it, submit that back to a back-end workflow, and track analytics around what was going on. And actually, I'll log in again. We can deliver. SmartForm Manager can deliver to any back-end system that you have. You set up different delivery mechanisms, so this could be any workflow engine that you want. And obviously, we're a gold partner of Adobe and do a lot of work with the Adobe's tool set. So this is just delivery to there, but I can show you, kind of what we delivered on that back end. Anything else you wanted to add, Rod, before we kind of open it up for questions?
The last question right now we have in the box is, could you speak a minute to the security features of SmartForm Factory?
Sure. So obviously and we've got documentation around this as well, and whoever asked that question, I highly recommend you kind of reach out to us, and we've got some security documents that we can share, white papers around that, that'll really highlight those aspects. But when we talk about security, there's a lot of different aspects that can be there, right? So I don't know the password, evidently. There we go. All right, so there's a lot of different security aspects around it, right? So obviously we've got authentication. There's groups and roles about who can see what forms and things like that. So there's a layer of security around access and roles. Obviously, when we're talking about the data itself, we're going to store it in an encrypted database. It supports HTTPS for protocols. So at each layer of security that you're going to be looking at, there's measures that employ best practices around security. So
we can integrate with whatever authentication system the customer have on their site.
Yeah. So and again, it comes down to really need to understand more what the question is based on. But it could be authentication. It could be user groups. How do I make sure these people don't see forms I don't want them to see? It could be the data encryption. It could be all kinds of different things. But all of it is kind of baked into the particular system.
All right, now everybody that's still with us on the webinar, and that's mostly everybody, this is your time to be asking questions into the question pod, and I'll just review some of the questions. So the security features is one that Gabriel asked. Mariana asked, can the form be completed to a point and then finish completion at a later time? And the answer to that is absolutely. That's a really important part of making this whole process convenient. Not only can you start it on your desktop computer at work, come back on your tablet, and maybe if you have to, have somebody else in your family, jump in from their smartphone and provide some information. But the data capture application can be saved and grow over time as you complete that. So that's a really important part of the process.
And if I do save one on the screen now, this is one I saved earlier. Complete your 401k retirement distribution form. I saved it. It's parked it, waiting for me to come back to pick it up and go.
David asked, does the creation process have the ability to add barcodes? And we answered that, yep, absolutely it does. That's an important part of the process. Robert was asking really about, he's really trying to drill on the document of record, right? He wants to know if he can actually create a form at the end of this that looks like the contractual representation of the form.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things you can do inside a SmartForm Manager is actually go in and say, here's the receipt template. So instead of using that one that, remember, when I create the one design, I get a document record for free, right? It creates one automatically for me. But as you kind of say, many times I've got a document that has already been provided to me that is really going to be my document record. I need to apply my data to that. And so certainly you can build that kind of template. And again, Lifecycle provides a lot of great tools for that, and we can leverage those tools to be able to take data, overlay it onto an existing template, and store that as a document record. But we give you complete flexibility in that area.
Excellent. Now Curtis is pushing our demo, live demo capability and wonders if we can demo the offline capabilities of a form from a tablet. Do you have the SmartForm field?
Yeah, I do. So let me...
So what we're talking about here is what we're going to show. I think this is what Curtis wants, because the question is, can we demo the offline capabilities of a form from a tablet? We're going to show what we didn't show. This is our SmartForm Field Worker app. It's an app that exists in the Google Play or the Apple App Store, and soon to be in the Windows Store. And you download it, and the application then is a shell for all the behaviors we want to have on the tablet for a form. So you may want GPS integration with the form, you may want camera integration with the form, you may want offline, online capabilities to be able to use the form whether you're not have a network connection, and that's what Jeff's going to show us here now.
Yep. And so what I did is just, so let me pull, so I just, hang on, let me get this where I can see, go back to full screen. So this is basically, you can kind of see, and this is my iPad, you notice the little airplane up on the left. So I put myself in airplane mode, so I'm disconnected. So this would be out in the field. Now I logged into the Field Worker app. You can see up in the right-hand corner, it's showing me I am disconnected. So typically what you're going to do in a typical use case, you're going to synchronize at when you're in your office, or whenever the last time you synchronized, and that's going to give you all the assignments that have been given to you, and it's also going to give you all the forms that you have access to that you can use out in the field. Now, we didn't deploy this particular form that we just did out here, so I've only got a few that are in there, but let's go, we'll open up this property inspection form. And again, completely disconnected mode. This is going to allow me complete functionality of one of these type of applications. And you'll notice this particular application is going through and inspecting a particular property. I chose it because it looks very similar to what we just did, because I built this one as well. But so I've got my navigation on the left-hand side. Now, as Rod kind of said, one of the things that's built into the application, because we've got this on a device, I can do things like locate. So here's a GPS coordinate kind of piece. I think you can even up in here you can do find address, where I can do a lookup. This is again using the GPS capabilities and showing it on a map. And then I've also got the ability to do attachments where I could take pictures. So if I wanted to attach something for a particular form, I just turned my camera around, took a picture of the camera, taking a picture of the camera, I think. Some kind of weird time continuation thing I just did. But you've got that. And actually I think even up here on the property details, I've got picture embedded inside of the here's my hand, I'll take a picture of that, and now that's actually in the form. So again, completely offline. If I come in and hit submit, it's actually telling me I've got validation errors. So again, it's going to handle all those. So it's actually telling me save that piece there. If I hit submit, still has validation errors. If we go look at our form, I've got 3 errors throughout the form. If I go in and fix them and submit,
so that's really important. I mean, it's showing that the validation is firing even in the absence of network, right? So the quality of data that you're going to collect is going to be as high as it can be.
Exactly. And then as I get all the way through it and submit it, what you're actually going to be doing is submitting it to a local database, encrypted database, and that's going to allow me to store it. It's telling me now no further changes can be made. I go ahead and submit, and that basically, I filled in the form, I've gathered the signatures and all those kind of pieces, and it's going to park it in my database. I can see it on my history, but it's actually not going to submit back up to SmartForm Manager until I actually take it out of airplane mode and resynchronize back up, and that could be whenever I come back. That could be days later, weeks later, whatever the case may be.
Excellent. So Curtis, we actually did a whole webinar on this last week. If you go to our website, www.avoca.com, and you go to the events page, you'll see a tab for recorded webinars. And the one we did a week ago was on the mobile field worker, and it dives deeply into the capabilities of the kind of support that we provide for people who need to use data capture applications out in the field. All right, well, we've got to wrap this up. It's 12:01, and thank you. An amazing amount of you have stayed, even though we've gone long on this. And to those of you that we weren't able to answer your questions, we will get something out in email if we find any that we didn't get done. And yes, there will be a recording of this webinar. You'll also get an email with a URL to that link within 24 to 48 hours. So again, thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this webinar series, and we'll come up with some fresh content after the holidays, and we hope to see you then. Take care, everyone.
Yep, thanks, everybody.